What's going on, everybody? It's great to have you with me. I hope your 2024 is off to a great start. I hope that you have at least one New Year's resolution that you haven't broken yet. It's great to have you with me, as I said. Tonight could be the last version of SKOL for Days, Thursdays Talkers. The Minnesota Vikings have one game left this regular season, and perhaps for the entire season. Who knows? They can still make the playoffs if about four things happen, including a victory over the Detroit Lions. And they can still get the number 8 overall pick if four things happen, including losing to the Detroit Lions. And the other 6 things completely out of their control. But that's because the Vikings over the course of this season have found a way to let things slip away. You know, it's interesting that it was almost a year ago, almost to the day, that the Vikings lost to the Giants in the wild card round of the playoffs in a game that realistically went the way a lot of games last year did. Back and forth, one score. One of those deals where you were never really out of it, but you never really had control of it either. And almost a year later, what's funny about this season is, on one hand, it feels like it went by so quick. And on the other hand, it feels like it's just dragged on or drugged on forever. Drugged. Not entirely sure what the correct grammar is for that word in that sentence. But alas. It's interesting, though. We still got a shot at this playoffs. And we still got a shot at a top 10 pick. And one of my resolutions that I'm going to point out to everybody right now is this. Again, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Let's just go with that one for right now. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. If you're, hey, we play to win the game no matter what, long-term consequences be darned, short-term gain, even if it costs long-term pain, that's fine. That's okay. And if you're the type that says short-term pain for long-term gain, that's fine too. But no matter what side you're on of that aisle, can we please stop with this civil war of, you're not a true Viking fan if you don't feel this way. I'm really kind of tired of hearing about it from both sides. I'm tired of fans telling the other fans, if you don't pull for a win, you're a bad fan. If you don't pull for a loss, you're a bad fan. Can we all agree that we just want to see our team win a Super Bowl, preferably before we die? And that we all have different thoughts about how to get there. But at the end of the day, can we stop with this fan policing of who's a true fan, who's a good fan, and who's a bad fan? Can we stop that, please? We'll talk a little bit about the game, obviously. Talk a little bit about the playoff implications, the draft implications. And as I have always said, if you are a premium subscriber and you want to get on the mic, tonight might be one of those nights, because I need a little help from the crowd tonight, ladies and gentlemen. It's, like I said, since that game last year, it just seems so different than what we expected, what we thought it was going to be on that day. We thought, okay, we went 13-4 under a rookie head coach who got his quarterback, Kirk Cousins, to play at a different level than he had previously. And I know the Kirk stands want to say, oh, no, he always had that in him. It's just Mike Zimmer and every other coach that he had prior to KOC put the handcuffs on him. You're kind of doing him a disservice if all you're going to do is think that, he always had it, because you're not giving him credit for the evolution that he had over last year. You're not giving him credit for getting better, both physically, mentally, and from a leadership standpoint. You're selling your guy Kirk short if you're going to say that. But all we wanted was a defense that could be average, and then we could be a team that can compete. Well, things didn't turn out that way. During the 2022 season, I went to 3 games. I went to Green Bay, Arizona, and Indianapolis. The Vikings won all 3 of those games. Didn't get to go to any games this year. This year just didn't go the way I had expected to and how we planned it. But that's okay. The Vikings mantra is always, there's always next year. But, maybe Kirk will be back. I don't know. I've made my stance on Kirk clear. I think he's a good, not great quarterback, and that you need a lot around him. And we were 4-4 this season with Kirk Cousins, and we've gone 3-5 since then. Could we have maybe squeaked out a couple more games with Kirk? Probably. Would that have changed my opinion that this team would probably have been a team that you could say would probably get to the divisional round of the playoffs, and that was probably their season? No, maybe not. But maybe if the defense had looked like it did during the middle portions of the season, maybe, just maybe. But we'll see. But let's get some shout outs. I haven't talked to you guys yet here. I know you guys got something for me. So right off the bat, Grandpa Dave, Vikings First and SKOL. Hit them up on YouTube as well as your favorite podcast aggregator. What's going on, Dave? Good to see you. Great show today, SKOLing with Tyler earlier. So again, if you don't subscribe to their YouTube page, subscribe there and ring the notification bell. Subscribe here too, by the way. If this is your first time here, hit that like button and hit that subscribe button for me. In fact, let's just switch it up to that real quick. There we go. Hit that like button for me, y'all. Hit that for me if you could, please. Who else we got? We got my guy Ryan. What's going on? Who's ready for the mollywhopping the Vikings deserve? Wow, Ryan coming out hot with the negativity after they embarrassed themselves. Well, you might be right at least from that point. It was an utter embarrassment against the Cheeseheads last week. You are correct. Shout out Sodak. What's going on, man? Good to see you. Good to see you. Penguins Bruin games kind of. Oh, well, tell me what's going on. Tell me what's going on. I didn't see it. I had to get ready for you guys. Shout out Julian. What's going on? Good to see you. Thank you so kindly for joining me. Shout out SKOL for Life Barber 1975. Thank you so kindly for joining me. And if you didn't hear, a special shout out to him who did make a donation via the Cash App. So I didn't get him last time. So I want to shout him out for that as well. We got Dave Thibodeau in the building. What's going on, Dave? Good to see you. Thank you so kindly for joining me. Joker's in the building. What's going on, Joker Nation? Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Yeah, you have a right to cheer how you want, but I'm pissed about Sunday. Yes. Yes. And exactly. Once the game's over, that's pretty much it. You are correct. Joker Nation, his team draft a quarterback in the early rounds. I agree. Regardless of what happens, I agree. Find a way to get one. My SKOL brother, SKOL Mafia, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you so kindly for joining me. Caesar's in the house. What's going on? Get the better pick. Wonder if they'll take Jefferson out early. Do you think if we get the 9th pick, we can trade up for Daniels? I might touch on that, Caesar. I might touch on that. That might be one of my topics tonight. We got JDT93. What's going on, man? Good to see you. Thanks so much for joining. That's a beautiful thing about sports. There is always next year. You are correct. You are correct. Two-Tone Tony, what's going on? Thanks again. Appreciate you. Appreciate you, Tony. We got my nemesis, Too Evil to Hope. What's going on, Too Evil? Shout out Too Evil. And for anybody that does not know the dry humor that is Too Evil, you should know by now. I actually had somebody put in my comments, that guy's really negative. I'm like, he's doing a bit, but that's okay. That's all right. Well, the show's going to be a little different than my normal shows, but first and foremost, and I know I haven't seen her in the building here yet, but shout out to Mary for the donations for the giveaways that we're going to do. We're going to do one big giveaway. So we're going to give away all 3 prizes at the end. We're going to give away all 3 prizes at the end because the holiday schedule and a few other things have just kind of messed me up. It's just kind of messed me up. So I haven't forgotten. I've gotten all the donations. I got all the entries still here. So we haven't forgot about it. We haven't forgot you guys and your loyal support. Like I said, one of the prizes that'll be raffled off will be this wonderful drinkware set and artwork, as well as this wonderful leather chair covering. And I'm gonna save what the third one is. We'll call that one the mystery, the night of the giveaway. So you got to have your entries in. $5 donations, either via the Cash App or the super chats or super stickers will get you a drawing. All members of the premium subscriptions get an automatic entry, and any new members get 2. But I digress. Let me get a couple more shouts here. We've got Minnesota Sports Talk with Al. What's going on? Funny thing is, we could get the 8th pick if all the teams win in front of it. Yes, we'll address that. We'll absolutely address that. But again, I'm not pulling for a loss. I'm pulling to see an entertaining game. I want to see Justin Jefferson get in the end zone and do a gritty or 2. I want Jordan Addison to get in the end zone. I want Ty Chandler. I want them to be successful for the game. And if they happen to lose, okay, great. But I digress. Y'all know how we start the show, though. That's never going to change, no matter what the format is. I shout out you guys in the chat, and I shout out a few other groups of people. We are starting with the active and veteran members of all of our armed forces who fought for our freedom and continue to fight to keep our freedom. And shout out to their family members who have to sacrifice time away from their loved ones as well to make this the greatest nation on the planet. Shout out to the brave men and women who serve as our law enforcement, firefighters, and EMS, who in times of tragedy are the ones running towards the danger, while the rest of us are trying to get away from it. We go to our jobs every day, and the only thing we got to worry about is getting there and back. You brave men and women potentially put your lives on the line every day when you go to work. to keep us safe and to keep us from harm's way. So thank you so very, very much. And finally, to the doctors, nurses, frontline workers, surgeons, and home health care providers who take care of us during our medical times of need. Their Super Bowl is going home saying that they saved a life. The men and women I've shouted out here tonight, and as I do at the beginning or near the beginning of every one of my shows, at oftentimes can work thankless jobs and do not get thanked enough. So I'm going to say thank you at the start. Every time. Every time. Couple more comments here. We got George in the building. What's going on, George? Fellow berserkers. I forgot about that one. Thank you so kindly, George. I very much appreciate, and I appreciate every one of you guys and gals. I think Mulling is going to do his best Uncle Rick impression throwing footballs over mountains. Well, that might be something. Might be something to it. Okay, so this game on Sunday at noon is a meaningful game for both teams. The Detroit Lions can still potentially get the number 2 seed. They need a victory as well as losses by the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. If all three of those things happen, the Detroit Lions will be the number 2 seed. I have no idea why the line started off at 5 points for Detroit and is down to 3. Like Vegas is thinking that Detroit's going to pull its starters halfway through. If those other 2 games, one of those games is at noon and the other one's at 3, Central Time, of course. If all of those games were at the same time and they were decided, then I could see Detroit pulling out their players. But the fact that one of the games that they would need isn't even going to start, I don't understand why they're thinking that Detroit's going to pull their players. So we're going to have to beat them straight up. None of this, well, they're going to play it like a preseason game, and after about a half or so, they'll hopefully build up a lead, and then they'll pull their starters out. I don't believe that. I don't believe that for a second. Dan Campbell does not strike me as that kind of coach, and he certainly doesn't strike me after that nonsense, that terrible, terrible call that they had go against them against the Cowboys last week when they had pulled to within 1 point and decided to go for 2 in the victory as opposed to kicking the extra point and going into overtime. Yeah, they're going to want to get that nasty taste out of their mouth. And you know what? Bully for the Detroit Lions. Better you than the Bears or Packers. If we're not going to win this division, better that it be you guys. So good luck. Congratulations. It's going to be a lot of pomp and circumstance. This will be the first time they've been at home because they had us and then they had the Cowboys in Dallas. So they're going to get this game. And yeah, maybe they pull their guys out in the middle of the fourth quarter if, whatever. But if we're going to win this game, we're going to have to beat those guys straight up. As far as the rest of the NFC playoffs go, we already know the San Francisco 49ers are the 1 seed. The Los Angeles Rams of Anaheim are the 6 seed. So their game is going to be meaningless. They are literally going to treat that literally like a preseason game. Nobody's going to play in that game. Nobody can move up, down, left, right. So that game's meaningless. The Green Bay Packers, they win, they're in. It's as simple as that. Bear down, Chicago Bears. Do us all a solid and keep the cheeseheads out of the playoffs, please. We couldn't do it ourselves last week at home and got embarrassed trying. It wasn't even close. But bottom line is this. You need a Vikings victory. You need a Packers loss. You need Seattle to lose. And you need either the New Orleans Saints or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to lose. You don't need both of those last 2, but you need one of those 2. But the first 3, we actually need. So it's a long shot. It's a long shot. But Chip cheering a chance. You've got a chance. And sometimes that's all you need. Getting back to what I was saying in the opening monologue about how things have just been upside down in a lot of ways since the Vikings lost to the New York Giants in the playoffs last season. I would have never thought that the Detroit Lions would have been the division champs. I would have never thought that for a good portion of this season that it would have been our defense carrying us. But sometimes the world throws you curveballs. And right now, the Vikings do look somewhat dead in the water. The probability is at about 3 to 5% that all 4 of those parlay items hit. The Vikings win, Packers lose, Seattle lose, and one of the other 2 NFC South teams lose. But it's not impossible. Sometimes things don't go the way you expected. And they don't go the way you planned it. But until it's over, you still got a shot. And hopefully, even if it is for 1 game. Because I'll tell you right now, if the Vikings do find a way to win and get into the playoffs with all those other things happening, they're either going to be facing the Lions, unlikely, or the Eagles or Cowboys. And that's going to be a tough game. Because guess what? If we do go to Detroit and win, well, that would take them out of the 2 seed. If we go to Detroit and win, we're going to be playing either the Cowboys or the Eagles. I had to think about that in my mind for just a second, but I digress for a minute. Shout out to George with the new member. I appreciate you, George, so very, very much. 2 entries for George into the giveaway for Mini-Me. Giveaway for the prizes for Mini-Me. And by the way, I forgot to say it earlier. Like I said, all donations go to the Mini-Me Field Trip fundraising fund to the Big Apple / Washington, D.C. And up until the end of this month, I do still get matching donations from the school district. So again, $5 increments get you the entry into the drawings for the prizes that Mary has donated, but anything you can do, very, very much appreciated. But I digress. Back to the topic at hand. What are the Vikings going to need to do to win this game? Just say bleep it. Play bleep it ball. Because everything that they have tried thus far, particularly since Kirk Cousins went down, but even before that, they just find a way to get in their own way. So I'd say first and foremost, don't get in your own way. Stop turning the ball over. It would seem to be obvious. Football 101. But 36 turnovers on offense. 36 through 16 games. That's more than 2 a game on average. Oh, well, we've corrected it after a while. We haven't corrected anything. All due respect to my compatriot on Tuesday nights. I haven't corrected anything. Well, for a couple games we did. Okay, big deal. Any team can do something for a couple of games. That doesn't mean they've corrected anything. But Nick Mullins named the starting quarterback. You know what? Everybody wants to talk to you about your, Brett Favre light. Okay, you're nowhere near Brett Favre's talent, so let's not pretend that that's anywhere close. Yeah, you have this propensity to just sling it and propensity to throw interceptions. He has almost a 1-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio over his career. There's a reason he's a career backup. But you got Justin Jefferson out there. You got Jordan Addison out there. The offensive line has not played very, very well the last few weeks. That's to say the least. And they're still somewhat mediocre of a run blocking line, but they're still a halfway decent pass blocking line. But the one strength of the Detroit Lions defense is their pass rush. The rest of their defense is thoroughly mediocre. So you have the opportunity. And again, you scored 24 points on them 2 weeks ago in your building. So it isn't that you can't score on these guys. And at the end of the day, win or lose, and again, I don't care what side of the aisle you fall on. It's fine either way because we're all just trying to get to the same spot, which is to win a daggone Super Bowl. But can we just do one thing? Can we do 2 things? One, let's get Justin Jefferson 119 yards so that he's over 1,000, which would be an incredible feat considering that he's only played in 9 games out of the 16, that he missed 7 games, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just get him 119. I know he only needs 118, but let's just get one more for good measure. And let's get Jordan Addison 147. Because it would be interesting. It would be an accomplishment and be something to say, we can hang our hats on this, that we had 2 1,000-yard receivers after going through 4 different quarterbacks. 4. Franchise record number 4. Number of starting quarterbacks this season that the Vikings have had to go with. But anyway. And oh, by the way, Kevin O'Connell, do me a favor. I know that the run blocking on the offensive line isn't always up to snuff, but run the football. There's a reason. The Minnesota Vikings lead the NFL in pass attempts on 3rd and 2. Well, but 3rd and 2 is a great time to go play action and catch the defense off guard. Yeah, but when you've done that the whole season, you haven't established the run game, and every other defensive coordinator knows what your tendencies are. There's a reason you have not been able to pick up 3rd and 2s at an alarmingly bad rate, by the way. The Minnesota Vikings, getting back to the turnovers on offense, they've turned the ball over 20% of the time they've had the ball in the red zone. 1 out of every 5 red zone trips, they turn the ball over. Oh, we just correct that. We're a good team because then we would have won a bunch of different games. Well, no. If you can't correct that after 2 or 3 weeks, then you're not a good team. But anyway, stop turning the ball over. Run the ball. Establish the run. In contrast, the San Francisco 49ers, they've had roughly the same amount of 3rd and 2s that the Vikings have had. And they've only passed the ball about 12 times in those situations. Now, and they've picked up, I think, about 9 or 10 of them. And why is that? Because they've actually established the run. And they've actually established that if you do play action, the linebackers will actually bite up on the bit as opposed to just saying, yeah, they're not going to run this. They never do. So Kevin O'Connell, do me a huge favor. If you're trying to win this game, then give your offense the best opportunity to win the game. Run the football, establish the run. Even if it doesn't work, still keep trying it so that the play action can halfway be effective. If you don't even try to run, the play action doesn't do you any good. So here's what I'll say. Secret weapon, CJ Ham. That's right, the fullback. If it's 3rd and 2, give him the ball. If you don't trust Ty Chandler or Alexander Madison, give him the ball. Get him involved. It's been 2 years. It's been since Mike Zimmer that we have been able to effectively run a screen pass. I know the Dalvin Cook touchdown against the Colts last year. Okay, yeah, I was in the building, as I said earlier. But this team is so bad at running screenplays. And if it could just get that down, then maybe your run game would be slightly more effective. Or at the very least, your passing game might be slightly more effective. And I get it. You need to have the big round bellies, as Grandpa Dave would say. You have to have them be in sync. Ed Ingram needs to not be 5 yards downfield before the ball's passed. Okay, so we got to work on that. Come on, Ed. But basic football, run the ball and learn how to run some screen passes. And then the rest of your offense will open up. I get it. You want to be your mentor, Sean McVay, and be such a pass-happy coach. But when you've got backup quarterbacks, 2nd string, 3rd string, and rookie quarterbacks, you can't be running the same offense that you would with Kirk Cousins. All of these long down the field developing routes. Yeah, Kirk can navigate that behind the offensive line and can do anticipatory throws and has the timing down. You've got to cut that down to a minimum when you're talking about Nick Mullins or Josh Dobbs and Jaron Hall. You can't run the same. That's his biggest weakness, is he's trying to run the same playbook that he would if Kirk Cousins was there. And it's just not working. So if you're trying to win this game, again, objective one, I know it's not about individual stats. And I know the players wouldn't say that, yeah, I want to get the ball so I get to 1,000 yards. I know that he wants that, but he's not going to put that above the team. But if you accomplish anything in this game, get Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison over the 1,000-yard receiving yards for the year. That's what I want to see offensively. The rest, you know what? Just kind of is what it is. But if you want to win this game, you got to run the ball. You have to keep the Detroit Lions offense on the bench. It's like I'm repeating what I said 2 weeks ago. That offense, when it gets going, is lethal. And against our defense, yeah, offensively, you've got to come close to winning time of possession. I'm going to look it up right now. What was the time of possession? Anybody? You know what? I'll do it right here. I've got it. What was the time of possession? Because I know we lost it. At least I think we did, because it didn't seem like we came anywhere close. Yeah. Time of possession in the first game, 38.5 minutes to 21.5 victory for the Lions. 4 turnovers to 1. 28 first downs to 19 first downs. Everybody say, oh, well, the Detroit Lions had 389 yards of offense total, and the Vikings had 390 yards of total offense. And if we didn't turn the ball over, this, that, and the third. If and buts were candy and nuts, be Christmas all year round. If was a fifth, we'd all be drunk. Don't talk to me about if this, if that. Oh, that was all Nick Mullins. Well, he's our quarterback this week, isn't he? So again, turnovers this, win the time of possession. How do you do that? You run the football. Even if you're not successful. I know, KOC, well, last year I ran the ball a lot and I was in 2nd and 8 a lot, and I don't like to be in 2nd and 8 as opposed to 2nd and 10, as opposed to throwing a turnover, as opposed to not running any time off the clock. Sometimes you just run the ball to take 40 seconds off the clock and give your defense a chance to rest. But that's just me. Put it in the comments. What do we need to do offensively besides get JJ and Ja over 1,000 yards? Let's see what you guys got going on here. And like I said, anybody who's a member, you want to get on tonight. In fact, I might even just open up the line. If Kofi is in the building, somebody get Kofi in the building, because he wanted to come on Tuesday night with me and Dave real bad. I said, come on back Thursday. Come on back Thursday. Stupid interceptions like, but shout out T-Bass. What's going on? You are correct. Appreciate you. Yeah. It's a real sad state of affairs when the idea of which quarterback gives you the best chance of winning, and the answer is none of them. The answer is you might as well just line Ty Chandler up in the Wildcat formation, because that might be what gives you the best chance of winning. But at the end of the day, yeah, you can't have turnovers and this many turnovers, and that's been the key all season. And again, let me be clear, that didn't happen after Kirk Cousins left. Well, they weren't Kirk's fault. It hit TJ and Hawkinson in the hands, and it hit KJ Osborne in the hands. Yeah, did that pick 6 against Carolina hit a receiver in the hands? No. I mean, I'm not going to say that all the turnovers were on Kirk, but the idea that he is absolved from any accountability in those turnovers, it's been a systemic problem with this team the entire season. I agree with JDT. Stop being so daggone cute. When it's 3rd and rel on your opening drive, run the ball. Yes. Yes. Why is that so complicated? I don't know. What is the long snapper going to do in fight? You're right, T-Bass. I don't even know why they do that, but hey, I'm sure he contracts this and whatever else that. But yeah. Shout out Dylan. What's going on? What's good? Hey, you know what? We got a game Sunday. We've got a game Sunday. Absolutely. It has been a minute that you've on here, but hey, appreciate you coming by. Always, always. Or even if you watch it back later, that's okay too. That's okay too. That's a great thing about YouTube. It's on demand. You don't catch it live, catch it back later. That's all good. It's all good. Shout out to my guy in the zone podcast. If you don't already subscribe to my guy Zoe, hit the subscribe button on his page after the show. A bunch of hellos and highs. I agree, JDT. You have to protect him, give him days in the pocket. Well, from a pass blocking standpoint, they did give him a decent amount of time against the Detroit Lions. Yeah, he took a couple sacks. And yes, that strip sack on the last drive notwithstanding, they did a decent job. Not a great job, but a decent job. And yes, I agree. If you have any shot at this, the offensive line's got to pick it back up. They were playing great during the middle portion of the season. For about a 6-game stretch, we couldn't say anything bad about the offensive line. And since then, maybe it's a step up in competition when you're talking about the Bengals, Lions, and dare I say the Packers, maybe. But they've just they haven't held their water. They haven't held up their end of the bargain. That's for daggone sure. What can they do on offense? Have a pulse and show some heart. Shout out Ryan. Absolutely. I don't like the fact that people are so quick to bring Kirk. But I'm getting to that too. But yes, dude doesn't help this team out with salary cap coming off a kill. Yes. You know what, Caesar? I'm going to star that one. In fact, I'm going to go find your other one and start that one too and come back to it because Caesar's jumping the gun on all of my topics tonight, but that's all right. I'm going to get to that one. I'm definitely getting to that one. That is for dang Skippy. But I agree. I'll just spoiler alert. I agree with you. Spoiler alert. We got Frozen North in the building. What's going on? Thanks for joining. Appreciate you. And like I said, if you guys want to get on, just put it in the chat and I'll send you the link. I might even just put the link in the chat. I might even take all comers tonight, but okay. Back to this Sunday's game. Defensively, show up, act like you want to be there. Don't be making business decisions. Tackle, rush the passer, basic 101 stuff. This defense at times this season carried this team. When you go on the road and pitch a 3-0 shutout like it's a baseball game, you got to give credit to the defense, even though the Raiders are a mediocre team, despite the fact that they put up 63 points the next week. You got to give them credit when credit is due. But the simple fact is, since that Raiders game, this defense has been atrocious. Well, it really started in the middle of the third quarter against the Bengals. So since the Vegas Raiders game and halftime against the Bengals, this defense has been absolutely just horrible. Horrible. You gave up the lead against the Bengals. You were standing out there, Blackman standing out there doing nothing on that touchdown to T. Higgins. Utterly embarrassed against the Detroit Lions. You couldn't stop the run. You couldn't stop the pass. You made Jordan Love look like Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre and Tom Brady. I mean, he had all day. He could have baked he could have baked 2 batches of cookies, fed his offensive line one of those batches, and still completed passes. Had guys running wide open. What is going on, Flores? Now, I get it. To a certain extent, Flores has been making chicken salad out of chicken bleep all season long. I think at this point in time, we might want to look back. I'm not throwing myself under the bus for Ed Donachelle, and I'm not throwing myself under the bus for Mike Zimmer. But let's look at this defense over the last 3 seasons, 2023, 22, and 21. Mike Zimmer's last year. Defensive guru Mike Zimmer, who took over a terrible 5-10-1 team back in 2014, made him respectable 7-9 in 2014, won the division in 15, went to the NFC Championship game in 16, went to the divisional round in 19, and always had some top 10 defenses. You think Mike Zimmer just forgot how to coach? Or do you think that the defensive players eroded, got older, and we didn't do a very good job of drafting and replacing them, didn't sign a whole lot of free agents because of all of the money we gave to all kinds of different players, Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, Anthony Barr, Adam Thielen, et al. Okay. So we said, all right, it's time to get rid of Mike Zimmer. He's lost his fastball. He's too antiquated. The league's caught up to him. Okay. Then we bring in Ed Donashell, and our defense was terrible last year. Now, I'll remind people that as many yards as that defense gave up during the first 2/3 of the regular season, they came up with some clutch plays. They came up with some clutch stops. They came up with some clutch turnovers here and there to seal some games. I've talked about it a few different times. That game against the Colts that myself, my daughter, a dear friend of mine, and her son, you don't get down 33-0 because the defense is terrible in and of itself. And guess what? 14 of those points, block, punt, touchdown, pick six. So that defense only gave up 19 points, 1 touchdown, 4 field goals, and only gave up 1 field goal in the second half. So we can talk about this comeback, and it was a ton of fun. It was a great day. But that defense gave up nothing. Granted, the Colts were terrible. I understand that. But they still did something. And last year, defensively, against the Detroit Lions, they came up with a stop at the end. Against the Bears, came up with a stop in the end. Against the Packers, week 1, held Aaron Rodgers to 7 points. Against the Cardinals, held Kyler Murray down and made a stop at the end. But by and large, our defense was bad. Giants game, as an example. A couple weeks before that, the game against the Packers, where we got run out of Lambeau Field. Okay, so now we got Mike Zimmer. Okay, it's his fault. And last year was Ed Donashell's fault. And the problem, so to speak, right now is for a while, for parts of this season, it looked like Brian Flores was working some magic. Took a few weeks to get it going. We started out 0-3 and then 1-4. The defense was still trying to figure itself out. And for the middle 8-9 games of the season, they figured themselves out. And it was just like, wow. Oh, Brian Flores definitely gone after this year. He's going to get a head coaching job. Well, not after the last couple of weeks. We'll see. That's a whole nother conversation. And we'll get to that a lot in the offseason as to, whether Flores is going to be back or not. But this defense is void of talent. And it has been by the schemes of Brian Flores that this defense has been able to be the average defense that it ultimately has ended up being. And over the last few weeks, 1, other teams have figured out that scheme, and 2, you've had some major injuries. DJ Wanham, Byron Murphy's been in and out of the lineup. Jordan Hicks was gone for 4 weeks. And what else do you got? You have Danielle Hunter on your defensive line. What else do you got? And by the way, I didn't see anything from Danielle Hunter. Now, again, when you're only guy out there and the defense just or the offensive line just schemes around you, it's kind of difficult for one guy to do anything. But this defense is void of talent. Now, it's got some nice pieces. I like Byron Murphy Jr. I like Josh Metellus, obviously. I don't think he got snubbed for the Pro Bowl. I think he was in Pro Bowl contention, but I don't call him a snub. And at the end of the day, when your defense is as mediocre as it is, you can't be surprised that there aren't that many Pro Bowl players. But anyway, I like Bynum. I love Ivan Pace. But what else do you got? You've got Danielle Hunter on that defensive line. You have no interior pass rush. You have no interior on the Harrison Phillips is a nice player. He's a nice, solid rotational guy. But you're asking a solid rotational guy to be your starter? Yeah, it's no surprise we can't stop the run. What do we got in the linebacking core besides Hicks and Pace? Nothing. And again, the cavalcade of cornerbacks, Evans, Blackman. Now, Blackman's a rookie. Okay. Andrew Booth Jr., T-Bass's guy, Lewis Seen. This defense is just void of talent, and it's not 1 or 2 players away. And so the fact that Brian Flores has gotten them into the position they have is frankly a really, really good job. But there's only so much he can do. A chef can only cook a meal with the ingredients he or she's been provided. So defensively against the Detroit Lions, what are we going to need to do? Pray, if you're into such things, if you're a person of prayer. If you're not, a hope, thoughts and prayers, as they say, a wing and a prayer, call it what you want. This defense has gotten figured out. It's void of talent, and it's got some major injuries. So what you're going to need to do defensively is figure out a way to get to Jared Goff, something we rarely, if ever, did in that first game. Do we even have a sack against Jared Goff that first game? Let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at the stats on that game here real quick. I don't think we did. And if we did, 1 sack. We had 1 sack against Jared Goff. He was 30 of 40 for 257 yards and a touchdown, and it felt like a lot more. But Gibbs, 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. Montgomery, 55 and a touch. If you can't stop the 36 rushes for 143 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground, you're not stopping anybody if you can't stop the run game. How is it that they had 36 carries, 143 yards, and 3 touchdowns, and Jared Goff still managed to throw the ball 40 times? Oh, wait. They had 38 minutes of time of possession. So that swings it back. Offensively, keep them off the field. But while they're on the field, defensively, you've got to tackle better. You got to fill your run gaps better. You've got to do 50 things better. But most importantly, you've got to tackle. Basic defense. You have to know how to tackle your opponents. How many broken tackles did the Packers have last week? Guy catches it at the 20. Yeah, he's running across, but he should have been tackled at about the 11. He just kind of waltzes on into the end zone. And that was on the times where they weren't wide the heck open. I don't know. Flores, I get it. On one hand, you want to bring some pressure, but and you don't have the horses to do it right now. But you also don't have the horses to sit back in the zone either. So Brian Flores has got his work cut out for him, to say the least, on the defensive side of the ball, which gets back to why offensively you've got to run the ball, you've got to play ball control, and you've got to score touchdowns. You can't have a turnover every 5 trips into the red zone. You can't have 2+ turnovers overall, which is what the Vikings are averaging this season. So I don't know. I'm picking spoiler alert. I'm not even going to wait to the end of the show. And I don't know if I'm going to do a pregame show. I'm going to try to get one in. But yeah, spoiler alert, right now, I've got the Lions winning this game. I'm not saying it's impossible that the Vikings can't win. Oh, no, it's definitely possible. But it's going to take everybody. And it's going to most importantly take Kevin O'Connell not outsmarting himself. Don't try to get too cute. Don't try to run these dipsy doodle. Oh, I'm going to throw the ball backwards to Jefferson for a wide receiver pass. You know what? You want to run that play once or twice a season, not once or twice a game. Okay? I'm sorry, but you tried to go into the bag of tricks one too many times, and I get it. Can't remember it was John Madden or Bum Phillips or Nuke Brockney who said, when you got to run trick plays, that's because you're not as good as the other team. Okay, well, there's something to be said for that. But just run your offense. And like I said, cut down on the number of long developing routes. I'm not saying never run them, but that can't be the mainstay of your offense when you've got a backup quarterback, when you've got an offensive line that's just okay in pass. Well, no, they're better than okay in pass blocking, but Christian Darrisaw last week made Preston Smith look like it was Preston Smith from 5 years ago. Holy cow. Everybody talking about, well, we got to sign Justin Jefferson, and then after that, we got to sign Christian Darrisaw because he's one of the 2 best left tackles in the league. He wasn't one of the 2 best tackles last week. I'll tell you that. But anyway, how are you going to win this game? You got to score, and you got to score a lot because they're going to score a lot against you. I will be shocked if they score anything less than 35 points. So you got to get to 38. So defensively, just try and slow them down. Just try to get a couple turnovers here and there. We're not expecting you to be the Zim Reaper defense and shut these guys out. That's an unfair expectation. You don't have all of the horses, as I said. And even when you did have all of your horses, you didn't have a whole lot of talent to begin with outside of a handful of players here or there. But sorry, guys. That's the best I got. That's what's going to take to win this game is try not to let them score on every possession, and you're going to have to score on almost all of them. I mean, I know that. How about that, right? So George says 2 batches of my Magic Brown. Yeah, there you go, George. Yes, getting back to the cookies, getting back to Jordan Love last week. We let Jordan Love come into our building and throw a beat down on us. I'm molly-whopping. Wonder if we would be better if we let Kirk and Hunter Walk use their cap space to build offensive line, which Caesar's got 3 stars that I'm coming back to now. I got you, man. I got you. I'm going to get back to that one too, because I'm going to talk a little bit of offseason. I'm going to talk a little bit. I'll be talking a lot of offseason on Monday under the assumption that we're not heading to the playoffs. Obviously, if we make the playoffs, then Monday's show will have a different tenor than if the season is over. But having said that, I will get into a little bit more of that later on here today, and definitely a lot more on Monday. Shout out, James. What's going on? Do you think B-Flow was pissed about the Bengals game and had taken his foot off the gas? Our defense has gone from hot to cold overnight. No, B-Flow would not do that. I see where you're going, though, James. It's a good question, and it's an interesting observation. But no, I don't think he would purposely sabotage his players and the team. But I agree with your point that he probably was pissed off after the Bengals game, both at his own players and at his head coach. But no, I think that the league has just figured out that B-Flow doesn't have a whole lot of talent, as I've just been saying, and that this whole resurgence from the defense this year has been nothing more than smoke and mirrors based on the scheme. And I think that the league has just figured it out. They said, all right, this is what we do. So what do we need to do to burn this type of defensive front, this defensive pressure? And by the way, the times we blitz, we're not getting anywhere close. It's one of those deals where you say, okay, you know what? We need to dial up the pressure. We need to bring the blitz more often. We brought blitzes and it has gotten picked up willy-nilly easy. So that's the other problem. He is bringing the pressure and it's not getting home. So no, I don't think he's taking his foot off the gas. I think that he's had his foot, floored to the gas pedal floored, and this team's just run out of gas more than I don't think he's taking his foot off the gas. I think they've run out of gas. But good observation, James. Absolutely. Absolutely. But Kirk and his bull child put Hopeless. Oh, yes. Let's pay him $40 million a year to do that, right? I mean, I'm not saying anything bad about it. Okay, it was a nice thing. And I was doing the pregame show with Grandpa Dave from First and SKOL, and we didn't know it was hey, we're not telling anybody who's going to be glowing the gala horn. It's going to be a big reveal, and it ended up being Kirk O'Chains and Kirk O'Chains Jr. Okay, that's nice. That's nice. Fired up the crowd. Sure didn't fire up the team. That's for sure. That's for sure. What you got, George? Locker room got stale. Yeah. And it didn't just happen overnight. It's been happening for the last 4 years. Since that divisional loss to the San Francisco 49ers in 2019, it's just gone downhill. And then we had bad drafts the last 2 years with Spielman. Well, the last 5 years from Spielman, really. And incomplete at best for Kwesi. Yeah, Jordan Addison. Yeah, Ivan Pace. Give him those, definitely. Lewisine, Andrew Booth Jr., and all the dipsy doodle trades he did and didn't get enough value in return. I'm not out on Kwesi yet. And I think some of the Kwesi hate's gone a little too far, but he's definitely on notice. He's definitely on notice. All right, Too Evil. You want players to sacrifice their future playing hard to win a meetings game? Absolutely not. I don't. I'm just I'm tuning into the game to be entertained. And I want to see the offense score some points. And I'd love to see the defense make a few plays. But, last week, there was a lot of business decisions made. Some of that garbage on defense against the Packers where guys were just checked out. And I don't know what's going to happen on Sunday, if that's going to continue or what. But is the game meaningless to a certain extent? But not quite. Still a 3% chance. How come they can use we won 13 game last year for KOC, but not for it? Well, that's a good point, too. Now, last year, the offense was doing more than it is this year. But by and large, I agree. And I said that last year. In fact, it was after the Washington game is when I first started my channel. And I was actually at the Mall of America, and the Score North crew was live during the game on site, and then did the live in-person vent line. And that's when I really, really started. And I said it then. And I actually said it after the Thanksgiving Day game against the Patriots that, the defense is kind of trash, but maybe Ed Donashell is running the defense the way he is because he knows he doesn't have the pieces to run it the way he would really like to. So, I'm with you, T-Best. I said, Ed Donashell was over his head. He needed to go. But I said this the day that they fired him. It's like, let's not throw all of the dirt on Ed Donashell's grave. Let's save some of it for the players or the lack of talent on this defense. Because I said, boy, that's 2 years in a row. The last year of Zimmer and the year of Ed Donashell that the defense has been trash. That's two defensive coordinators, so to speak, in 2 years that haven't been able to get much out of this defense. And now we got a third year. So at some point, it's lack of talent. It's lack of talent. Totally agree. Well, you know what? Someday that kid will be able to tell stories to some girls, but like, hey, I was on national TV. Look at me. Look at me. I don't know. But anyway, no one signs an above average defense coordinator to a head coach after one decent year. Well, no, that's true. That's true. Well, for a while, it was a general thought because he had done really, really well with a defense that didn't have a lot of talent. Shout out, Timothy. What's going on, Slack? Good to see you. Thanks for coming on by. Appreciate you. Vikings seem to lose coordinators who go on to win Super Bowl. Well, there's that too. When the Vikings going to get one of those? That's a very good point, George. That's a very, very good point. Part of me was happy we got O'Connell because he was coming off of a Super Bowl win. I was just like, we want the guy who hasn't won one that wins one for us. Just one before we die, right? Just one before we die. Really hope Beefalo comes back. Hopefully some help in free agency. Yes, I would concur. Shout out Dayon. Ain't seen Dayon in a minute. What's going on, Dayon? Good to see you. Agree with your last statement. Get a rookie quarterback, re-sign JJ, and build the defense back up with the money. Yes, should not be signed. I'm going to get to that. I'm definitely going to get to that. Countless times. Yes, the tackling was just beyond atrocious. Got to keep JJ happy, and he seems to be. You know what? I'll address that one now. Justin Jefferson, when Josh Dobbs was out there looking good, he had all kind of praise for Josh Dobbs. Justin Jefferson had all kinds of praise for Jaren Hall. So this ridiculous notion that, oh, look at what Justin Jefferson's saying about Kirk Cousins. Justin's not going to re-sign here unless we sign Kirk Cousins back. No, Justin Jefferson's going to sign here if he gets a contract that's going to make him a very rich man, regardless of who the quarterback is. Oh, well, if we don't re-sign Kirk, he's going to want to ask for a trade. Let him. I mean, he's not going to do that. I don't see that. That's a Stephon Diggs type thing. But you don't make your decisions, and this is a point the team hasn't made. You don't make your decisions based on what your star player says. You take their input and you take it into consideration, but you're not beholden to anybody, even JJ. JJ is my favorite player, aside from the fact that he and I have the same namesake. He's the best player on our team. He's probably the second best player in the NFL behind only Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes is the only guy in the NFL I would trade JJ for. But you go to if Justin Jefferson's going to say, hey, I want Kirk back, I'll be like, okay, you know what it's going to cost to keep you here, right? Yeah. You want to give some of that money back? No. Do you think Kirk's going to want to give some of his money back? No, probably not. Okay, then. If I sign you and I bring back Kirk, I have no ability to make the rest of this team better outside of hoping and praying that we go 100% on our draft picks, which doesn't happen. So, Justin, if you want Kirk Cousins back so that we can continue to be a mediocre team, we can do that, but that's all we'll ever be. You've seen Kirk Cousins here for 6 years, and it's not all his fault, and I'm not saying it's all on him. But what I am saying is we've done this song and dance for 6 years. We know what we have. We have a comfortable 6. And yes, let me say this right now. What the Vikings have thrown out there and what they have accomplished or lack thereof since losing Kirk Cousins has no bearing on whether you bring Kirk Cousins back. None. Of course, Kirk Cousins looks better than 2 journeyman backup quarterbacks and a rookie 5th-round draft pick. Congratulations. Okay, set your standards a little bit higher. See, if we don't bring Kirk back, we're guaranteed that no matter who else we bring here is going to play like Josh Dobbs and Nick Mullins and Jaren Hall did. That's not true. You just want Kirk back so bad that you'll say anything. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I don't want Kirk back. I want to take the $28.5 million dead cap hit and just be done with it as opposed to spreading it out over 3 or 4 more years. And I want to take the next step. This team is mired in mediocrity, and it has been for a while. And that's not just on Kirk. It's been my entire lifetime. And I'm going to get more into that on Monday. That's going to be the theme for my show on Monday is mired in mediocrity, because that's what the Minnesota Vikings are. And yes, they were pretty bad. They're 3-5 without Kirk Cousins. That's bad. But as opposed to what? If we had Kirk Cousins, we'd probably be 5-3, maybe 6-2 over that stretch. And so maybe we'd be 10-6. And then, yeah, we'd be a team that's in line to win 1 playoff game. That's mediocrity to me. But that's a whole nother conversation. No. But as far as the Justin Jefferson, keep him happy. No, it's like, dude, we'll keep you happy by putting a lot of bags in your bank account. That's how we'll keep him happy. Yes. Gadget plays. Dipsy doodle gadget plays. I'm sick of them. They're nice once in a while. I agree, James, but you can't keep doing them over and over again. No matter how potentially bad this game could be, I always have enough early. There you go. There you go. And yes, George, Darisaw was absolutely terrible. JDT. I think Darisaw is powering through an injury. Well, maybe. That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. Either way, he looked bad, and he made Preston Smith look like Reggie White, for crying out loud. At some point, Kirk has to go. We'll see what happens. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Shout out, Mr. Tonic. What's going on? Appreciate you. Thanks for stopping by. And let's hit the reset button while we're at it. If you haven't already done so, hit that like button for me. Somebody give me a count. How many likes I got? How many people I got watching? Give me the numbers, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't already subscribe, hit that subscribe button as well. Yes to evil. We all know. I'm going to do a poll at the end. Who here wants win and who here wants? So you don't even got to vote to evil. We already know where yours is at. Mr. Tonic, I guess we know where yours is at, Scott. Top 10 pick. There you go. We get beat in the flat over the middle way too much. Yes. Well, they get beat everywhere. JDT, they gotten beat everywhere defensively. Hey, Slack, I appreciate shout out to Tim for the sub. I appreciate you, Tim. Appreciate you. And I'll be upfront with you. I keep it real. Ask anybody in the chat. I don't sugarcoat it. I'm not a homer. I'm not a total pessimist, although some of the guys that I work with, particularly on Tuesday night, would call me a pessimist because I'm a little bit more realistic, but I don't sugarcoat. I don't sugarcoat. If we traded up for Gene and Daniels LSU, would you start him right away? Oh, I would start him. My dream would be Drake May. I think Drake May is going to be the best quarterback of this class. I think he's going to be better than Caleb Williams. And there's too many question marks on Caleb Williams for me that I'm just like, So if they found a way to get to the 9th or 8th pick, I would find a way to trade up to the 2nd or 3rd pick. I don't care what I got to give up. I want Drake May. But if you get Drake May, you get Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix, or if for some reason Caleb Williams falls to you or falls within a pick or two and you trade up a pick or two to get it, you get any one of those 4 guys, I start them right away. Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Michael Penix Jr., and Caleb Williams. If you can get one of those 4 guys, you start them right away. I mean, if you could get one of those other guys, Flacco, Keenum, Baker, on a really, really cheap deal, then I suppose that. But I'm just ready for the next step. Is it me or have none of the I just plastered? No, it's not just you. Yes, you can polish a turd, but sometimes Ed's defense had a tinge of shimmer. That's true too. All right, let me get a couple more in here. Okay, yeah. I'll maybe. I'm not going to completely concede the argument, but I won't die on the hill. I will not die on the hill. I will not. No. I don't have the writing chops to write a book, but I appreciate you. All right, come on, you guys. 24 and only 16. Who in here ain't hit the like button? Hit that like button. It's free, you guys. It's free. Hit that button for me. Mediocrity Kool-Aid is the color of purple. You are not lying, T-Bass. You are not lying. Minor Miguel could distorted Minnesota Vikings. Yes. Come on. Like I said, come on back Monday night, especially if we lose or if we're out of the playoffs. And that would be the worst thing ever if we win and still miss the playoffs. But anyway, yeah, I'm going full on about what this team really needs to do. I'm not going to go into that rant yet when the season's not over, but I was going to rant Monday, but I was too tired after New Year's and a few other things going on that I didn't do a show on Monday. And I wasn't going to do the rant on Tuesday because if you did not see Tuesday night's episode of Under the Lights with me and Dave, it was 20 minutes of back and forth talk. And then it got to be about an hour of Dave and I getting how Dave and I get, where he wants to bring back Kirk Cousins and whatever. And well, what if we don't bring back Cousins? We're going to be a bad team. We were a bad team either way. What? We were a good team. We were 4-4 before Cousins went down, and we were figuring it out because we had won 3 games in a row. Okay, Dave, that's fine. You're allowed your opinion. I don't agree with it, but it was rather entertaining. Now, at some point, half the people in there was like, could we move on from Kirk? And the other half were finding it hilarious. So if you didn't see Tuesday night show, it's on the live section or it's under the playlist of Under the Lights, but I digress. Shout out Mike Sports Vibe. Let's vibe, Mike. Let's vibe. What's going on? I'm good. Happy New Year to you and yours. I haven't talked to you for a minute. Hope you had a great week, Christmas and New Year's, Mike. Good to see you. If y'all don't subscribe to Mike Sports Vibe, again, he lives in Philly and he is a Viking fan. He's a Vikings fan in Philly. Now, yeah, when he's talking about his 76ers, hey, don't tune into those, but tune into him and give my guy a sub if you could, please. James says, you and Dave, I appreciate you. Listen, don't get me wrong. I love Dave. We're family, and it's okay to have differing opinions, but it's like, no, I want to see them win. Who cares if it costs us 8 draft picks? Like, it's 8 draft picks in every round. And well, I want to see guys are fighting for their jobs. I'm like, yeah, guys can fight for their jobs and play their best. And if Greg Joseph misses a field goal at the end, it doesn't change their performance. But anyway, shout out nephew. What's going on? JJ Vikes, what's going on? All right. Good to hear. Good to see. Good to see you. Good to see you. Thanks for coming. Justin, you're going to summon Minnesota Sports Talks from the I'll leave that one alone. I want to move on from Kirk so we can get this cloud of void. Yes, Caesar. Yes. Worried about Penix's injury. That's true. That's the only thing. But boy, did he look good. Boy, did he look good. And I cannot wait for Monday night. That's the other thing too. When I do go live, I'm gonna try to keep it within a half an hour because I'm going to try to go around halftime of the national championship game because I know a lot of people want to watch that because we got two quarterbacks in there that are going to go in the first round. But at the end of the day, yes. And that's what I've said. To finish off my Kirk talk, I don't want Kirk back, not because I think he's garbage, but I don't think he's good enough to overcome the roster deficiencies. And I've been saying that for years. And this team has too many deficiencies. Kirk Cousins, if we did not have Kirk, like let's say Kirk had gone down in training camp and we had to go with Mullins and Hall and then we trade for Dobbs for 17 games as opposed to 11 games. Yeah, instead of being a 7-win team, we'd probably be a 4-win team right now. What's the difference between a 7-win team, maybe 8 at best, and a 4-win team? Nothing. Neither one of those teams are going to the playoffs, and neither one of those teams are winning a Super Bowl. I'm not saying that I want this team to be bad. What I am saying is I'm willing to accept a down year or two under the guise of we clean up our salary cap books, we get younger, we get better players on defense, and then we have a rookie quarterback contract for 4 to 5 years that we can fortify the rest of the roster around it. Some people, including, and again, the main point of my theme Monday will be the Wilfs because everybody can talk about KOC and Kwesi. We can talk about Spielman and Zimmer. We can talk about Childress. We can talk about Leslie Frazier. What's the common denominator over the last 19 years? Ziggy and Mark Wilf. They got exactly what they wanted. It's the last game of the season and the Vikings aren't eliminated. But I'm not going to give away any more of what I got going on Monday. But let me circle back to a couple other ones. I don't like the fact that people are so quick. Dude hasn't helped his team out the salary cap. Yes. I don't want. Here's the thing. Shout out Caesar. Great point. And I've said this from the moment Kirk Cousins got hurt. Take the name Kirk Cousins out of it for a second. If there was a free agent quarterback who, when healthy, was playing very, very well, top 10 for sure, but was going to command a salary cap hit of 45 to 50 million, 36 years old, coming off an Achilles injury, would you want to sign a free agent quarterback with that resume? The answer is no. So the answer should still be no to Kirk Cousins. Now, I don't want him back, but yeah, people say, well, coming off an Achilles injury, he's going to know that he's going to have to take a little bit less money. I'm not talking about taking $5 million less. That's not a substantial enough discount for me. For me, Kirk Cousins' market value is $45 million. And because of the dead cap hits, if you brought him back at market value, his cap hit would be $55 million. No, absolutely not. No way. Now, if Kirk says, I'll take a $10 million discount, so I'll take 35 and my cap will be 45. No, that's still too high. Not with all the rest of the roster issues we got. Kirk Cousins would have to say, I'll take a 2-year, $40 million contract, 20 and 20. That I could listen to. I wouldn't like it. Wouldn't want to do it. I'd rather just go with a clean slate. But yeah, 2 years, $40 million. I could live with that. But guess what? Kirk is not taking that kind of discount. These people out there, Kirk stands or just whatever, whether you're Kirk standing or not, whether you're from Kirkistan or not, Kirk Cousins is not going to take that much of a discount. And he is under no obligation to. Let me be very, very clear. I've said this from the beginning of time since I've had a microphone. Players are under no obligation to take pay cuts or take less than what they can get. They put their bodies out there. They get their bodies smacked around. For example, Harrison Smith, he's not going to be back next year unless he takes another massive discount. And Harrison Smith's under no obligation to give money back to the Vikings. And frankly, the Vikings might say, you know what, we got Bynum and Metellus, and we're still hoping out that Andrew Lewis-Cine can do something. So even if Harrison Smith did say he would take a cut, I don't know if the Vikings want him back anyway. But my point is that Kirk or anybody else is under no obligation to take a pay cut. So my point in all of that is this. If Kirk says, yeah, I'll take a $5 million discount, that's fine. That's not enough. The only amount that would be enough for me to feel comfortable with it is an amount way more than what Kirk is really going to do. So there you go. Get a better pick. Wonder if they'll take Jefferson out early. No, I don't think they will. Unless he's already got his 100 and some odd yards and he needs to get to 1,000. There's no way if Justin Jefferson isn't above his. And again, I'm not saying that makes him selfish, but no. Justin, he would. Now, for anybody that wants to say JJ would not be happy if they don't bring Kirk back, if you take Justin Jefferson out of the game just to keep him, not let him get hurt, that would make him far more upset than not bringing Kirk Cousins back. So no, I don't think that they would. But we would absolutely be better to definitely let Kirk walk. I can listen to Hunter. I can listen to Danielle Hunter. In fact, I want Danielle Hunter back because what the heck else do they have on the defensive line besides him? If they let him go because he wants too much money, I can understand that, and I'm not going to cry foul on that. But just for the sake of conversation here, Danielle Hunter, if he is not re-signed by the Minnesota Vikings, the Vikings will incur a dead cap hit of about $14.9 million, I believe. Yeah, $14.9 million, because he's got void year hits of 7.5 and 7. Let's just say 7.5. We'll just round it up. But yes, if you extend Danielle Hunter, you can then spread out those dead cap hits. Now, again, the same thing applies with Kirk Cousins. But when you're talking about spreading out $15 million of dead cap hits versus $28.5 million of dead cap hit, when you're talking about a guy who's going to be 30 versus a guy who's going to be 36, I'm more apt to listening to re-signing Danielle Hunter. I'm not going to give him top 5 pass rusher money, but top 10, I would definitely do. And Danielle wants to be here. Danielle absolutely wants to be here. And so does Kirk. Well, Danielle's been here this whole time. But what I am going to say is, yeah, my first priority is to re-sign Justin Jefferson. My second priority is to re-sign Danielle Hunter. And yeah, if Kirk Cousins says he wants his full market value, I say, hey, good luck. Go on and find it. It was a great 6 years, because I know what I got with him. And what I got is a guy that, yeah, he definitely takes us from a 3 to 4 win team to a 7 to 10 win team, but he doesn't take us much more beyond that. But that's just me. I agree. It's time to start a new. Yes. I thank you. Shout out Dr. Proto. We got a house call from the doctor. What's going on, doctor? Good to see you. Thanks for coming. A Viking. Yeah, George, a Viking fan in Philly. Yeah, I can imagine the Bay Area isn't that much better, but no. Yeah, my guy Mike, good dude, great channel, and yeah, go give him a sub or go check him out at least. Cameron, I don't know enough about him, so I won't pretend. I won't cap like I. And Kirk's coming off an Achilles. Yes, and I agree, Dayon. It is time to turn the page. Here's a concept. Finally get the rebuild part of the competitor rebuilt. Well, there is that. Again, Too Evil. Come back on Monday. I know Too Evil, you will be in heaven when I go on my rant Monday. But I will say this. The issue isn't the head coach and the general manager. It's the owners. The owners are the ones who don't want to go full on rebuild because they think they're going to lose money because people will stop showing up at games. Yeah, whatever. I'll get back to that later. Let Kirk be somebody else's liability. Love the guy. He has the talent. He just isn't going to deliver. Correct. Vikings front office gave him the bank. Yeah, they did. And again, blame the owners too. The owners signed off on that. I have it on good authority, so to speak, with what I read, who I listen to, and a couple of I'm not going to pretend like I'm some insider here, that like I know people, because I don't. But I had some off the record conversations with 1 or 2 people who are far more connected, and they said that when Rick Spielman re-signed Kirk Cousins to that 2-year extension, he didn't want to because he only wanted to give him to a certain price point. And the Wolf said, I don't care, give him what he wants. And so hopefully when Kwesi says to them, hey, this is the price that I'm willing to give him, and this is the price that makes sense for us against our salary cap, and if he doesn't take it, then you got to let him go. Then you got to let him go. But anyway, get Antoine Winfield Jr. Oh, absolutely. Well, here's the thing. We're already set at safety with Bynum and Metellus. Should have drafted him in the first place. Now, can he play slot corner? Sure. And I don't think Tampa Bay is going to let him get away, though. I don't think they is, but we'll see. Only reason to re-sign Kirk is we have no better option. Still think we should give Cap a look. Cap's not going to happen. There is zero chance the Wills would ever go for Kaepernick. I'm not going to go into the rest of the pros and cons on Kaepernick. Wills would never do that. Oh. Zero chance that the Wolves would ever go for that. But here's the thing about better options. What's the better option? To go with a rookie quarterback and go through some growing pains like Chicago did last year with Justin Fields? Look at what Chicago did. They went through some growing pains last year. And Justin Fields, I'm not saying he's ready to become a Pro Bowler or a Hall of Famer, but the Bears took their number 1 overall pick because they were garbage. They flipped it down to 9, and now they got Carolina's pick this year, which is going to be the first overall pick. Plus, they got their own pick, which is going to be around top 10. They took 2 years of being bad and then mediocre. The Vikings had a good season, but ultimately, did it go anywhere? No. And then they had another mediocre season. And now the Bears are 2 years ahead of us. I said it at the time. Again, I'll cover that later. But if Kirk gets a multi-year deal, he's getting mostly fully guaranteed and no trick. Oh, yes. Don't do it. If Kirk Cousins comes to or if his agent comes to the table and says we want fully guaranteed or mostly guaranteed and a no trade clause, I say get out of here. Shut the front door on your way out. No, no, and no. Stop spending out. If that's the other thing, the void years, spending money from down the road. Yes, that's good to do when you have a team that's contender. Yes, I had no issue in 2018 and 19 spending over the means and doing void years and pushing out some of the money down the road. The problem is that in 2020 they thought their window was still open, and then they started doing all these void years, and they've been doing it ever since. And that's why, up until this year, when Kwesi let go of Adam Thielen and Eric Kendricks and a couple of other players, that for once the Vikings are actually starting out with some salary cap money as opposed to being 10, 15, $20 million over the salary cap and needing to cut players and renegotiate just to get under the salary cap. But I hope they sign oh gosh, Marcus Davenport. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm with you, Tim. I'm with you. Who else we got on defense? I've said it 3 times now. Even during the evaluation, who else they got? They've got nothing on defensive line. So, yeah, you got to bring him back. This notion that we got to re-sign Kirk Cousins to keep Justin Jefferson happy, and then we got to re-sign Justin Jefferson, and we'll let Danielle Hunter walk? Everybody's saying, well, what are you going to do at quarterback if you get rid of Kirk Cousins? What are you going to do on defense without Danielle Hunter? Yeah, I know. What are you going to do? What you going to do, brother, when Hulkamania comes wild on you? Anyway, stay with Mullins if we drift. Well, Mullins will be cheap. I think he'll be back even as just the backup quarterback. That's for sure. But we'll see. All righty. Has it been an hour already? Holy cow, it has. All right, let's hit the reset button. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button if you already do. Shout out to Timothy one more time for the sub here tonight. Appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. Share this with your friends. You got anybody else that consumes Viking content on YouTube? Oh, and also, I'm going to put the link in here. If you don't already, subscribe to Vikings First and SKOL, both on their YouTube page, as well as your favorite podcast aggregator. I do some podcasting over there, freelancing a little bit here and there, and you'll find me over there occasionally on their post-game shows, and once in a while we do a show with them as well. So I'm going to put their link in there. So you don't already subscribe to Vikings First and SKOL, head on over there if you could. And let's see. Appreciate you opening my alarm with, hey, absolutely. I appreciate you, George. I appreciate it. You know what's funny, George, and everybody else? I actually had some people, when I first started doing that at the beginning of the year, say, why do you say that? Why are you grandstanding? What kind of political statement are you trying to make? I'm like, there's no statement there. It's a state. The only statement is thank you. The only statement is, hey, you guys don't get thanked enough. You don't get appreciated enough for everything that you do for people. Doesn't matter where you are in life or who you are in life. You just put yourselves out there to keep us safe. Oh, stop grandstanding. All right. You say so. But I appreciate the kind words and the feedback. I'm not going to put that one up there, George. I appreciate you, Barber. I appreciate you. Get Dallas turning. Yeah, I could listen to that. That's the key. If you can get one of those two guys, or you can get one of the other stout defensive tackles or cornerbacks, and still get Penix in the second round, oh boy, then I'd be happy. Oh, would I be happy? I don't think Penix is going to fall out of the first round. I really don't. I would but here's the thing. If you don't go Penix at your first pick and you take a defensive tackle or a cornerback or something, and he's still there at about 25, I trade up, get back into the bottom half of the first round. Yeah, I agree too, Eva. I don't think he's going to make it to the second round. But if he gets past 20, you trade back up and you get him in and you get him with the 5th-year option. Absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, if he's still there at 20, I'm making all kinds of phone calls. I'll be like, hey, what do I got to do to get this guy? I don't care. At that point, absolutely. So with all that being said, do want to thank everybody for joining me here this evening. I think I'm going to bow out at this point. If you haven't already done so, hit that like button on the way out. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that share button. Share that. Share my channel. Just got to get 65 more to get to 1,000. I appreciate Tim and everybody else and all of you guys and gals that have come through here tonight, as well as early and often throughout the last year. It's been a crazy year for me, and it still is kind of crazy right now. And like I said, this time a year ago when the Vikings lost to the Giants, the next 12 months, the next turn around the sun, did not go as we expected, but it's not over yet. There's still a shot. They still got it. I will let you know, and I'll put it out on the community page this Sunday if I'm going to do a Purple and Gold pregame show. I'm pretty sure Rap and I are going to do Rapping for Days, and I think it's going to be on his channel because we haven't done it for a couple of weeks due to the holidays and whatnot. So I think it was his turn on his channel, but we'll put that out on the community pages as well. So we'll either be rapping the Viking season or we'll be rapping the Vikings going to the playoffs, and the tone will be totally different one way or the other. We just want to see the Vikings win the Super Bowl before we die. Thank you one more time. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share this with your friends. I appreciate every person who's come through the door here tonight and has come through the channel over the last year so very, very much. SKOL Vikings, let's win this game. And as SKOL to the next episode, of course. And as Prince says, go crazy, punch a higher floor. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. See you Sunday.